Good morning, everyone. My name is Greg. Welcome to Soul School Network for February 2nd, 2026. Today, we have an interesting topic. We're going to discuss the meaning of Groundhog Day, which is, of course, every February 2nd. We'll introduce the topic a little more in a moment. But to start things off, Sue is going to play a grounding meditation with Yanka, one of our facilitators. And we welcome everyone who's with us live, as well as those who are watching on YouTube. Take it away, Sue.
To start, you might close your eyes if that feels good. Take 3 deep, relaxing breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. One more time. In through the nose, out through the mouth. We'll start scanning our bodies for any tension there might be. Starting at the head. We'll do this together. We'll just observe without making any meaning out of it. Scan the crown of your head, the back of your head, your face and neck, your shoulders, one arm and then the other, all the way down to your hands. Now your back, from the neck all the way down to the final bone of the spine. You can focus your attention now on your chest and your abdomen. Are there any sensations so far? Any muscle tension? Just observe it for now. Continue with your right leg and foot and your left leg and foot. Wherever you found tension, let it go. Gently, by visualizing that it is a white cloud that slides down your body all the way to your feet, leaving your body through the soles of the feet. Perhaps there will be many clouds of tension leaving your body. That's great. You're letting them go. You can feel good about it. Once tension is out of your body, it will be gone and transformed into life-giving energy. Let's take a deep, relaxing breath. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Let it feel good. You can stretch your body and make sure you are comfortable wherever you are. You are a beloved child of God and the earth, deeply connected to her. Notice how your feet are planted on the ground. either physically or energetically at all times. Feeling the earth with the soles of your feet. Feel how your energy grows and extends itself from the soles of your feet towards Mother Earth. You are growing energetic roots that go into the moist, rich soil under your feet, uniting with the Mother, receiving nourishment and love from her. The more your roots extend and go deeper and deeper into the earth, the more you feel deeply grounded and held in love by Mother Earth. Stay present in this moment. You can feel it. Remain grounded and present in this moment. Grounded and present. Grounded and present. You can gently go back to your breathing. In through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And one more time. Now you can slowly open your eyes when it feels good to you, and move your body slowly as you come back. Enjoy a beautiful day.
Thank you so much, Koryanka. We always like to get things started off with a grounding of sorts, so that really helps us. Welcome, everyone. We welcome our new visitors here on our live program. Today, February 1st, our topic is about Groundhog Day and digging into maybe a deeper lesson in regards to that. It is February 1st, of course. We're going to have a full moon tonight. And tomorrow is his Groundhog Day. It's a Pennsylvania Dutch tradition from the 18th century, and it really started as a way to forecast the weather to help farmers decide when to plant their crops. Tomorrow is also Candlemas. It's a Christian holiday and marks the halfway point between winter solstice and the spring equinox. Back then, of course, a sunny Candlemas day meant a longer winter, and a cloudy day meant an early spring. In the German tradition, they used a badger, and in North America, of course, there aren't badgers, so they went with the groundhog. And so the idea is if the groundhog emerges from its hole and sees its shadow, then winter would continue for another 6 weeks. So that's kind of the way it went. Of course, a lot of people would probably associate Groundhog Day with the film Groundhog Day, which was really about someone who would go to sleep and then wake up and re-experience the day over and over and over again. And so I think that may be the way that some people see it. But we want to dig into maybe the lessons around this idea of Groundhog Day, and we'd love to hear from our participants today on what it means to you, if it has any relevance at all. So let's kick things off here. Who would like to start us off with some thoughts on Groundhog Day? I thank Susan for the idea. She's our program director, really, for Soul School Network, and came up with the idea to kind of discuss tomorrow today.
Well, why don't I jump in then, Greg?
Why not?
you think
Thank
you're
you.
asking.
That's
So,
great.
of course, thinking about Groundhog Day, um, and the prediction of what the weather will be, I was thinking of the shadow, of course, of the groundhog, and metaphysically the shadow work, which is looking at the unconscious parts of ourselves, typically the unhealed, the trauma, all of that. So that's one piece metaphysically. And then there's the, Groundhog Day all over again, like you suggested. Of course, I haven't seen the movie, but the idea that we're almost like, Einstein said, like doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result, which we don't get. So those were the two thoughts I had about Groundhog Day. Um, and so I think that like everything in life, it's all symbolic for a deeper lesson. So this was my initial thought, and I'd love to hear what other people think.
Who'd like to jump in? Oh, Sarah's ready to go, and she's on camera with us as well, so it's extra special.
Big bless. Great to see everyone. I was really excited. I am really excited for this one because it's the first of the month, and first of the month is also Rabbit Rabbit. I don't know if you've heard of this tradition. Is to say Rabbit Rabbit to bring good fortune for the month to come. And it's funny that it's Boo's birthday because didn't Boo live with bunnies?
Yes, and
His
jumps like
original family was a family of bunnies.
correct.
Uh,
And he acts like one too.
he's cute, fluffy, like a bunny. Uh, 13, lucky 13. That's very wonderful. And Dad has Michael Swinwood is my dad and has a lot of jokes that are recurring jokes. And one of those recurring jokes is it's Groundhog Day all over again, meaning, when something repeats, he'll just say that. And of course, if you've seen the movie or if you haven't, you know that he wakes up and what's the actor's name again? He's Canadian.
Is
Bill
it
Murray.
Bill Murray? Yeah.
Bill Murray. Yeah. So uh it reminds me of the Suspensky book, Strange Life of Ivan Osokin. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of this book. Here you go. Uh Uspensky studied with Gurdjieff, and the two of them teach about waking the consciousness up out of a slumber that we tend to think that we're changing or think we're progressing or think we're doing something differently when really we're just looping the same thing over and over. And this book is about a guy that goes to a magician to fix his past, that he wants to go back and do it differently. And he's able to do that, but then every time he goes back, he sees he just does everything the exact same way again and again and again. And so it's kind of like the question, if we have the opportunity to go back and do things differently, would we? And in our minds and our ego, we think, of course, yes, I would. And then we go back and we see that we don't do it. So that right there is the rub. That's the kind of what's going on. Why are we repeating the same thing over and over again? And why, from this point, if I know better, am I going back and making the same mistakes or creating the same errors or creating the same kind of karma for myself? And the teachings of Gurdjieff and Uspensky were all about waking up out of that slumber. Gurdjieff famously had many exercises people would do, like this is one of the exercises, or the clapping, all sorts of things to get the body doing something differently, getting the brain, the left and the right side to wake up and do something different. The whole idea is that the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, the whole human organism is in a mechanical routine, and we need to wake ourselves up out of I'll just start with that.
Yeah, that's great. And thank you for the visual. Who else would like to jump in? Sarah, you really uh, gave us a good sort of way of looking at the whole Groundhog Day, repeating things over and over again. And I know, for me, that was the piece of life that, as a child, living, growing up with in a very rigid sort of home with rules and you know you weren't able to make decisions for yourself as a child. It felt like Groundhog Day every day, and I, for a long time, sort of resented that feeling of being forced to relive it by someone else's set of rules. I know, I don't think maybe you felt that way as a young person. Would that be safe to say?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I mean, I hear what you're saying with regards to this idea of routine or this idea of follow these steps and then not knowing why I need to follow these steps and these rules without knowing where it was going to take me. I mean, I'm very fortunate and blessed to have Michael Swinwood as my father because growing up with him, he was always pulling us out of that routine and pulling us out of that structure or like, let's take a day off from this
Right.
ridiculousness. And so he was always showing me, demonstrating through example that you didn't have to play that game, that you didn't have to do it the way that everyone else was doing it, that you could dance and have fun and be happy when everyone else, was in their slumber and their routine. And my best friend when I was little, Elizabeth McDonald, we used to hide from the school bus um, so that we could spend time together after school because her parents were very strict and she was never allowed to play with me after school. And so we would find ways of breaking the rules and but it is interesting that in order to break out of that mechanical cycle, you need to become something sort of like a delinquent or like, on the fringe of society where you're breaking the rules or doing something that's not prescribed. I see Dad has his hand up. I'm also very excited to hear what he has to say about today,
Yes,
tomorrow,
feel free,
today.
Mike. Tomorrow, today, Michael. You'll just have to unmute yourself, young man.
That's what most people prefer. I stay within muted. Um, joking. I'm only joking. The apple doesn't fall very far from the peach tree, as you can see. Um, Sarah Swinwood reflects quite an association with ideas, philosophies, spiritual teachings that obviously took deep hold. And I read something this morning on Jordy's website, Spirit Guide, and I thought it was so appropriate. And it said this: there's nothing in the caterpillar that tells you it's going to be a butterfly. And that to me encapsulates this topic. There's nothing in the human being that tells them they're going to be divine unless they begin a search, unless they become a seeker. It's pretty amazing that Sarah and I, although she's in upstate New York and we're here in Peru, we're on the same wavelength, and that the thoughts that she just expressed were the thoughts that were rolling through my mind to speak about today. Sarah texted me a couple of days ago, and she texted me the book entitled Gurdjieff Remembered by Fritz Peters. And Gurdjieff, by the way, is Gurdjieff. So there's the book, Gurdjieff Remembered. And what was stunning to me was that I'm going to say about 20 years ago, I was deeply studying Gurdjieff and Uspensky, and they completely blew my mind with the expression of knowing, their expression of knowing, and elucidating on the very thought of what we're talking about, which is Groundhog Day all over again. To me, it is, why is it that you keep seeing the same thing, doing the same thing, fall within the same patterns? And Gurdjieff's take on that would be, because you're a machine. That's why. You're a machine and you don't know it. And the only way to get rid of the mechanicalness of your existence is to come to the realization that you need to bring about changes. But you can't bring about changes unless you are able to understand the machine, unless you are able to understand the body, the physical, the emotional, the feeling, the mental, the thinking, and the essence of spirituality. There's also something called the moving and the instinctive center, and they all make up the whole. Uspensky and Gurdjieff, but Gurdjieff especially, would give the example of, imagine a house with many rooms, and that idea of the house with many rooms contains an I in each room. And so I am going to go on a hike, and suddenly my mind changes and I go, I am not ready to go on a hike. I'm going to sit down and read. And then I decide I'm not going to read. I'm going to get up and have something to eat. Imagine the idea that the night before you go to sleep, just before you go to sleep, you say, I am going to get up early and meditate. And you make an intention that you're going to do that. And you wake up in the morning and you say, I feel a bit sleepy. I'm going to sleep in rather than meditate. And the question becomes, what happened to the I from the night before? It was in another room. And the I that is now saying, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to do something else, is in another room. And so you become a series of I's. I'm going to do this, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do this, I'm not going to do that. And you become, if you will, controlled by your egos. And the only way to really get out of that loop is to understand how you work on eliminating the egos. The egos are represented in the teachings of the Inca as the 7 cardinal sins, or lust, anger, pride, envy, greed, laziness, and gluttony. And each of us, each human being, is invaded by those 7 egos. And they end up putting ourselves into a situation where we're controlled in terms of our being. So we become a human doing rather than a human being. To do is one thing, to be is another. You know, Shakespeare was right on the money when he said, to be or not to be. That is the question. It's in beingness that we advance and we bring ourselves out of that machinery, that we bring ourselves out of that mechanicalness, that we move ourselves in essence towards something that approaches God consciousness. This is what all the avatars came to teach. Krishna, Yeshua, Muhammad, Buddha. All of these avatars came to teach that the Christ is within, that the divine is within. But we spend probably most of our lives concentrating on external matters, on external happenings, on things that happen to us, happen around us, or create circumstances around us that keep our focus on the idea of what's outside of me, not what's inside of me. So the way to avoid Groundhog Day is to go inside. The way to change the mechanicalness of existence is to go inside, because this is where the answers lie. The answers for getting away from machinery is to come to the understanding that you are a machine. Now, how do you understand that at a deeper level? You must begin to self-observe. I can't come around and spend the day with you and go, oh, if you did this, this would happen. Oh, no, if you did that, this would happen. No, 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 no. The idea here is I must evaluate myself. The Inca teaching said that if you want to know or understand better the 7 egos, then assign an animal to each ego, and then you'll begin to understand better at a deeper level. So lust is the black dog. That's all it's interested in, is the sex. Anger is the bull. Pride is the peacock. Envy is a seagull. It'll take your French fries. Laziness is a monkey in South America called the puño puño. Sloth-like, can hardly peel a banana to feed itself. And greed and gluttony are taken by the pig. So imagine those animals reside within you. And how do you feed those animals? So you're driving down the road and somebody cuts you off. Immediately, anger rises up. The bull. And the bull takes over. I can remember a day when anger would be the controlling feature in that scenario that I've just described. I'd be prepared to chase the person down and engage. But now I learned over time that that's not what you do. Is you pause, you back up, and you say to yourself, I'm not the bull. I'm not anger. But that other person who cut me off, they're caught. They're in their bull. So my reaction, because I learned that if you take the word reaction and take C and put it in front, you get creation. So that at the moment of impression, you change your impression to what's right in front of you, from going into anger into love and compassion for the person who has just demonstrated to you anger. You can be the only one who can decide on a scale of 100%, 100% being absolute divine, where are you on the scale in relation to each ego? I can't do it. Greg can't do it. Susan can't do it. No one here can do it but yourself. You are the only one who can make that evaluation. And self-observation becomes a discipline. The discipline of self-observation means that you must become aware enough to observe yourself within experience, within situations that occur, so that you can change. Uspensky likened a human being to a horse carriage, the master sitting in the horse carriage with the driver. And so imagine that scenario for yourself. The horses are the emotions. The carriage is the physical. The driver with its reins is the mind. And the master inside the carriage is the divine essence within you. When the divine essence is communicating to the driver, everything is smooth. And when the driver just sits there and calculates, oh, I've got to get from A to B, and the way I'm going to do it, 1, 2, 3, he uses his intellectual mind and he gets there through the logic. But that is not going to bring to you what you're looking for as a seeker. What you're looking for is liberation. You're looking for freedom, away from the machinery, away from the mechanicalness of existence, away from what you're seeing out there in the world, which is chaos. But it keeps repeating itself and seemingly getting worse and worse and worse. But that's not your life. Those are circumstances extenuating outside of yourself. Your life is inside. It's not outside. Externally wanting and seeking for happiness and joy in the external world will bring you frustration, unhappiness, and maybe even lead you into depression, because there's nothing that you can grab onto. There's nothing that you can hold on to. But there is something that you can hold on to. There is something that you can grasp, and it's within. And so the solution to moving out of begins with self-observation. You obviously have to make a commitment that you wish to grow. That is really kind of a prerequisite. You have to make a commitment that you wish to grow, so that when you wish to grow, you develop desire. And when you develop desire, then you act upon that desire. Not the desire for gold, not the desire for a companion, not the desire for someone to offer you something, but the within desire, the desire within, that you make a commitment to yourself that you wish to grow. Susan and I were just discussing the word equanimity. I keep repeating and going back to equanimity all the time now. It was like so unusual as we were driving to Cusco that the word just came into my head. Like, that's not happenstance. It's no coincidence. It's like being connected to a realm that we're all connected to, that we can all avail ourselves of. And it came through intuition. And what is intuition? Break the word in two. Tuition, payment, bracket karma, for a private, bracket mystery school. So intuition is all about working on your karma, seeking mystery school. That, in other words, you dedicate your own existence to the idea that you can come to a higher consciousness. So back to the analogy of the horse and the driver, the carriage, and the person in the middle of the carriage. When the horses, excuse me, when the horses, that's a funny word as I'm getting hoarse. When the horses are controlling, the carriage is going from pillar to post with no direction. It doesn't have any direction. So when you find in your house that your emotional house is the one that's leading the charge, it's going to lead you astray. It's going to bring you into a place where you do not want to be. You're going to find yourself in places unknown without any kind of resources to help you out of the situation. But what Uspensky and Gurdjieff were talking about, they were talking about the way of working, the way that you could work on yourself to obtain clarity, focus. Equanimity, again, is balance, being able to take things with balance, neither good, neither evil, neither good or bad. Being able to control those horses with equanimity. And the deeper definition of equanimity is it sits on the ground of wisdom and freedom and is the protector of love and compassion. That's quite a definition of a word, I must say. And reflecting back on the idea that that word came into my head, to me, is evidence of an existence of spirit helping, spirit assisting. I didn't go search the word out whatsoever. It came into my head. There was no discussion. There was nothing. It just came into my head. And it's an incredible word that you could put on the bulletin board of your mind to remind you when you fall into that situation where you're about to fall into anger, you're about to fall into frustration, you're about to fall into sadness, all of those negative emotions. Equanimity will allow you to climb out of that state. Equanimity will allow you to look, to see with better eyes as to the existence of life. I highly recommend that you look at some of the material on Gurdjieff, you can easily find it online. You can find all his books. There's an institute called the Gurdjieff Institute, which promotes his teachings, etc. But in terms of uh, setting forward this incredible knowledge, this incredible wisdom, that's extremely, extremely helpful. I highly recommend it. You know, Gurdjieff was late 1800s, into 1900. He's from Turkey. Um, he was known throughout Europe as being really a magician. A lot of people termed him as a black magician, but he just wasn't any of that. He was what I would call one of the mysteries of the world, in the sense that we have individual human beings who come into existence and show other human beings incredible gifts, incredible knowledge, and incredible teachings that they embody. And, there are so many like that: Yogananda, Babaji, and Uspensky and Gurdjieff were at a level below those, Yogananda and Babaji, but they display the same kind of divine inspiration. And you see, really, in the end, you're not a physical being having a physical experience. You're a spiritual being having a physical experience. And what happens in the spirit matter confluence is we split over into matter, and spirit gets ignored. Spirit is not really promoted, or, if you will, put into a situation where it predominates in your existence. Um, I could go on and on, but I'm not going to take up the whole time. I just thought I'd introduce some of those interesting features. There is nothing in the caterpillar that tells you it's going to be a butterfly.
That's a beautiful analogy. I saw you raised your hand there again, Michael, so maybe you should continue.
No, no, that's me gesticulating. That's me gesticulating, and energy of the intellectual computer picking up on it.
Exactly. Well, thank you. That was really actually quite deep, and a nice way of looking at it. I love that analogy in particular. Does anyone else want to jump in here? We're, of course, talking about Groundhog Day, which, may be defined as someone experiencing something over and over again, and or seeing your shadow. It may be related to the changing of the season, the equinox, etc. Who else would like to share their thoughts on this February 1st full moon in North America and South America? Don't everyone speak at once.
Can I jump in again?
Yeah, of course,
If
yes.
that's all right.
Of course.
All over again? Well, it is really interesting also, this idea of the seasons and the cycles. And in where I am in upstate New York, February, it's leaving winter, moving closer to spring. And so it's interesting reflecting back on childhood, growing up in Canada, like this being basically the coldest part of the year. And so that kind of hope in the heart, and like the idea of the groundhog seeing its shadow, that it's going to predict when spring is going to come. And then, here I am, 47 years old, and still this little 7-year-old is there of that timing of having to just follow instructions and structure that someone else is giving you, right? And here I am, and it's like, have things changed? Has something changed in me? Has the world changed? Or is it just looping again? And so I contemplate education a lot. And here's another great book that I pulled out. This is Michael also is the one that put me on to Alice Bailey. This book is From Intellect. You can't really see it, it's been rubbed out, but it's From Intellect to Intuition. And the first, the second chapter is the purpose of education. And the reason it's from intellect to intuition is because the old model of education, or the more mainstream model, is to fill the mind with facts and information and things that you're supposed to memorize and then regurgitate. Whereas now the shift is becoming to listen more to your inner voice, to the intuition. And then the newer model being introduced by Alice Bailey here, which is really introduced by the masters, the avatars, is this idea of drawing something out of someone rather than planting something in their mind. And that's what our society is all about. Like with the media, social media, any kind of media, it's we're constantly being brainwashed, assaulted by what we're being told to think. And so to think, do we have an original thought ever? Really, you have to contemplate that for a really long time. If a thought is really your own, or if it's something that is formed by something you've been told to think. And I think this is just a great place to start with this idea of discussing what is the purpose of education? What is education? What's the purpose of learning? And there's a great paragraph that discusses this idea of freedom of thought and this idea of formulating ideas, right? And when you think of everything that you've learned in your life and the process with which you went through to get there, it's like, do I even know how to think? Do I even know how to form something fresh or new? And this paragraph says the literal meaning of the word, however, education, is to lead out of or to draw out. And this is most instructive. The thought latent in this idea is that we should draw out the inherent instincts and potentialities of the child in order to lead him out of one state of consciousness into another and wider one. In this way, we lead children, for instance, who are simply conscious of being alive, into a state of self-consciousness. They become aware of themselves and of their group relationships. They are taught to develop their powers and capacities, especially through vocational training, in order that they may become economically independent and thus self-supporting. So this is like the old model, right? So, but when you're contemplating this, it's like, what do I really want to bring out of this person? That we all have these capabilities and these capacities. And as a child, I hated school. I did not want to study. I did not want to learn. I did not want to be there. And now, as an adult, I'm a teacher and a learner, an avid learner. I never want to stop learning. I'm constantly reading. I'm surrounded by books. In fact, it's my remedy to get me out of the pain of what we're still being prescribed. It's like one of the books, I love these old paperbacks, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. Uh, the Tao of Leadership. I recommend also that everyone study the Tao, spelled Tao, which is really all about going with the flow and becoming more like the river. And how is a river? The river goes over rocks and under trees and around obstacles. And I said to my partner a couple months ago, I want to be like the river. But I really meant it. I was like, oh, I'm watching the river and I want to be like that. Like just seasonally it increases or it decreases, but it keeps going. It doesn't stop. And it's just so beautiful to watch that while all these other things are going on in the world, there goes the river. And, human beings, it's just we complicate everything. And that's why I need these books. I need to have them stacked beside me so that I can grab one at any time, not only to read through, but also to journal what it's saying as like a constant reminder to get myself out of that looping mechanical thing that it's just you can't just snap out of it because you've decided to snap out of it. You can't just be like, today's going to be a new day and it's going to be fresh because it has to be like a constant commitment. And I'm committed to it. And have I made any progress? I don't know. But I still keep trying all over again.
Thank you, Sarah. Sounds like you are getting it. Sounds like
There's
you are making progress.
there is one book you missed there, Sarah, and that book is entitled "Don't Push the River." Because what you're saying is exactly bang on in relation to the river. What a beautiful metaphor. Because this is in essence what your life can be. And Sarah's saying, I want to be the river. That's exactly what your life can be, which is flow. You can have that flow. But it really comes back to what I was saying about Gurdjieff and Uspensky and what they were saying about self-observation and how important it is to have the desire. You have to wanna. I gotta wanna change. If I don't wanna change, I'm not going to change. I'm just going to continue doing the same thing I did over and over again. And I'm going to continue to rely on that as being my security. But my security does not lie in the external, it lies within. And as I develop that within, then the without will really be good. Am I giving thumbs up to
Yeah,
myself? It looks
you
like
are.
it.
Yeah.
Feels good
Maybe
for
you should send yourself some hearts as well.
yeah, okay.
No, I
That's
love
it for
that.
me.
I love the idea of the river. And a river doesn't go backwards. It doesn't experience anything over and over again. It just moves in one direction, and that's really meaningful, I think, in this discussion. We just have a few minutes left, so let's just see if there's anyone else who wants to jump in with a few thoughts on what Groundhog Day means to them. My sister's here now, so I can't say anything too too harsh. Otherwise, I'll hear from her
I'll
about
jump
it.
in,
But
Greg.
okay, yeah, that'd be great. Thanks, Sue.
So I'll just reflect on what's been said here, which to me is how the same thing over and over again, and the shadow paired together is it's going to be the same thing over and over and over again, unless you're going to look at the shadow, unless you're going to be the observer who's going to really look at what's driving the bus, what's creating the experiences you're having. It's all here, right? It's all happening in the mind, in the world we're creating in our minds. And this is why life is an outpicturing of your own mind. We're all looking potentially at the same thing, but seeing it completely differently. So, if we don't want to be caught in this, loop, it seems to me that this is where the shadow work comes in. And I don't, there's all these different methods, there's shadow work is spoken of that way, but essentially it's the deep personal work on self into the metaphysical and the understanding from that perspective that is going to get us off this loop. So the idea of being in the loop and the shadow, like these, obviously this is what I think Groundhog Day is pointing to, is work on self so that you don't have to feel that way, because you don't have to. I don't mean a choice like as in we all choose this. We're all the sum total of all our experiences and our upbringing and every other thing in our past lives and our simultaneous existences and all of that, depending on what you believe. So there's a whole lot going on, and it's all happening inside. This is really where we're living. And so I think this is how we change Groundhog Day. Yeah, my 2 cents. Thanks.
Thank you. And that's a really, excellent way of sort of wrapping things up. Thank you, Sue. We'll maybe say goodbye in a minute or two, we'd like to maybe hear the mantra of unification. Um, Sue or Michael, do you want to be our host for that piece?
Susan will do it. She does a beautiful job.
Nice of you to volunteer her.
That's nice. Okay, here we go. I'll share my screen for those of you who don't know the mantra. Here it is. And here we go. The souls of all are one, and I am one with them. I seek to love, not hate. I seek to serve and not exact due service. I seek to heal, not hurt. Let pain bring due reward of light and love. Let the soul control the outer form and life and all events, and bring to light the love which underlies the happenings of the time. Let vision come and insight. Let the future stand revealed. Let inner union demonstrate and outer cleavages be gone. Let love prevail. Let all people love. Miigwech.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. It was a good and uplifting conversation, I think. And I thought it was going to be a tough one because it's about Groundhog Day, which is tomorrow. So maybe take a moment tomorrow to think about what we had discussed today. And again, thanks for joining us here and also on our YouTube channel. Our website is soulschoolnetwork.com. And if you type in Soul School Network on YouTube, you'll find us as well. So we'll see you again in a couple weeks.
Thank you. Have a great week.
Much love. Bye.
Bye.